Well, hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughan Manor. So today it's Tuesday. Normally I would be doing a tag on Tuesday, but I put my tags on hold this week because today is going to be a TBR Tuesday. I'm going to be talking about my TBR for the rest of the year. I realized last month was kind of a disaster. Uh, as far as my TBR was concerned, I never, to tell you the truth, before I got on BookTube, I never paid much attention to, what I'm going to be reading this month and all that kind of thing. I just kind of like had some books in mind and I just go through them. But on BookTube, TBRs are a big deal. Everybody has their wrap up at the end of the month where they talk about, ooh, look, these are all the books I've read this month. And ooh, this is my TBR for next month. And these are like the 18, 19, 20 books I'm going to read. I am not that successful. Usually. Unfortunately, my life is unpredictable. My job can be unpredictable. And it's been unpredictable for for the past year. COVID shows up, and then fire season shows up, and there's all these things that kind of affect my job and my life. So, yeah. So I never know how much reading time I'm gonna have, how much spare time I'm gonna have. Sometimes I've fair amount. Sometimes I have none. So I'm gonna go through this big box I've got here. This is my big box of books that I know I want to try to get to for the rest of the year. And I've got to try to figure out, okay, these I definitely want to get to, and these other ones maybe I can let them slide to the end of the year, maybe put off until next year, maybe. And since I was gonna do this anyway, since I'm on BookTube, I'm probably contractually obliged to film it. So all you lucky folks get to watch. Yay! Lucky you! Okay, so I'm going to go through this box of books, and figure out what I definitely want to get to. One thing that I definitely want to get to is this book, because Gina Stanier recommended this book to me. This is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. I've never read an Agatha Christie book before, and she said, "Okay, you read one of Agatha Christie's books, and I'll read a Lovecraft book." I'm like, okay. I think I'm probably getting the better end of that deal, since she doesn't like horror all that much, and I will read anything. So sure, I'm happy to read an Agatha Christie, and so this is going to be my first one. So definitely, this is going to be the next thing I get to, so I can talk about that here on the channel. Another one I definitely want to get to is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Definitely want to get to Rebecca. I mean, no question. That's definitely one I want to get to. This one, World of Trouble, is the third volume of the Last Policeman trilogy. Fantastic trilogy about an asteroid heading towards the Earth, and what's the point of solving crimes in this case. It's been great. The first two books have been great. Definitely want to get to World of Trouble. So that's definitely on there of a must-read. And this one, Nightmare by Chad Nicholas. Definitely want to get to this. This is a first novel by this author, Chad Nicholas. He's got his own BookTube channel. So yeah, I've heard good things about that. So yeah, those definitely. And another one that I definitely want to get to is Gulliver of Mars by Edwin L. Arnold. This book could have been an inspiration for Edgar Rice Burroughs' Mars series. Could have been something that Burroughs read. And I saw this reviewed by Jay Shea. And so I definitely want to get to this. Just some cool science fiction-y kind of stuff. There's this other one that I found, this Jules Verne, Master of the World. This is a Jules Verne novel I've never read. So I do want to read it, but I'm thinking that's something that might wait. Like maybe I don't need to read this right away. It'll still be hanging out there. Also, I've been wanting to reread The Lord of the Rings, and I was hoping to do that this year. This is what I'm going to read, because I like the old paperbacks. That's how I read them. And as you can see, these paperbacks have been there and back again. They're kind of in not in the best shape. I guess The Hobbit's the worst. But yeah, this is my old Silver Jubilee edition of Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So I hope to get to it this year, but I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful whether that'll happen. But one thing I definitely want to get to is a couple more Malazan books. I started reading Malazan because Mike at Mike's Book Reviews is doing this kind of read-along thing, and he got me to read it. But there's no way I'll be able to keep up with the Warband, I think. There's just too much else I want to read, and my schedule's just too unpredictable. But I definitely want to try to get to a couple more. This is the next one that I have to read, Memories of Ice. This is a big old Malazan book. And then The House of Chains is number 4. And this one's over 1,000 pages long. Doesn't look like it, but it is. Why do you write such long books, Steven Erikson? You're killing me. But yeah, definitely want to try to get those 2 this year. I'm going to try it. But that's a definite. This one I just kind of... this is Ben Gally's Heart of Stone. I read the first volume of his Chasing Graves trilogy. I've got a couple more volumes of those around here somewhere, but this definitely can wait. Not something I really need to get to. This is something I want to reread. Hunchback of Notre Dame. I want to reread it because, you know, since I read it a long time ago. And since then, I've actually been to Notre Dame and I've been to Paris and all these places that are talked about in the book. And so I want to read it again, just having kind of different eyes, knowing what he's talking about, basically. But again, it's probably not something I have to do right away. If I can get to it, I'll get to it. Another reread, We Have Already Lived in the Castle. This is another thing I wanted to reread, but since it's by Shirley Jackson. But again, I can put that off, you know. What else do I got in here? Now this is Michael McDowell's Blackwater. I've mentioned that I wanted to read this in my horror TBR video. So definitely this is one I've been wanting to read for years and years because I read the first part of it. It was originally released in separate paperback novels or parts of novels, and I only read a bit of it. Could never find the rest. So this is all one big volume of the Blackwater story by Michael McDowell. Definitely going to get to this. So yeah, this is on my pile of must read. Starving Ghosts in Every Thread. I'm going to throw that down there too. It's tiny. Shouldn't take me that long, and I keep hearing really, really good things about it. I've never read Captain Blood by Raphael Sabatini. For a while I thought I read it, but it turns out no, I only watched the movie when I was a kid. I never read this book. So yeah, I definitely want to read it. I've heard good things about it. I've never read Sabatini, heard great things about him. So yeah, Captain Blood. Pirates. Ooh, gotta read that. So that's on a definite pile. Anthony Hope's The Prisoner of Zenda and Rupert of Hentzau, 2 adventure novels. I read the first one, The Prisoner of Zenda, a while ago, but I've never read the second one, Rupert of Hentzau. So I want to read this whole Penguin volume here. I'm going to say this is a must read. I really want to get to that, so definitely going to be a must. Mythico Wood. This was recommended to me. A Robert Holdstock book. I haven't read this one. I read some Holdstock back in the 90s, but I can't really, for the life of me, remember what it was, to tell you the truth. Definitely want to get to this. This actually looks pretty good, so I'm going to put that on a must-read. Definitely want to get to Saint's Blood. This is book 3 of the Greatcoats. I don't know that I ever did a review of the second volume. The second volume was pretty good. So definitely want to move on to the 3rd volume. Look at that great cover. This is a really entertaining adventure series by Sebastian de Castell. I have been really impressed with the first 2 volumes. The second volume was better than the first. So I'm hoping for good things from this 3rd fantasy novel in the Greatcoat series. Yeah, so I'm going to say I have to read that. Have to at least get to the 3rd one this year. This is a lush and seething hell, which looks like a really cool couple of horror stories. 2 tales of cosmic horror by John Horner Jacobs. If I can get to it, I'll get to it. I'm going to put it over here with the ones I'll get to if I can get to them. Then we've got A World Undone the story of the Great War, 1914 to 1918. I definitely want to read this one. I need to know more about the First World War. So I'm going to put that down as a must. And here is something that is definitely a must read because I've never read this. This is an H.G. Wells novel that I've never read. This is When the Sleeper Wakes by H.G. Wells. Yeah, for some reason I've never read it. I have a big 7 science fiction novels by H.G. Wells volume, couple editions of that, and this one is not in there, so I just never got to it. So I definitely have to read an H.G. Wells novel that I haven't read. I don't know if any of you guys have read that. If you have, let me know what you thought about it. Everybody seems to have read this one, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I hear it's good. I hear the sequels are better. I'm kind of thinking I can put it off, though, because I've got other stuff I want to read, kind of other fantasy stuff like this one. This is the first Mistborn novel by Brandon Sanderson, which I've never read any Brandon Sanderson. So I definitely want to get to this one. I definitely want to get to Mistborn. So yeah, this is going to be a must-read. I'm going to put that on a must-read pile. This one, which I just talked about recently as well, Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Hope I pronounced that right. I've mentioned that I want to read this. This is one of the books that was in my big giant book haul. That's what really prompted this. I had a big giant book haul and I realized how many books I've picked up recently. So I definitely want to read it. And it's supposed to be really good. This one I might put off. This is Jim Butcher's Stormfront. This is another big, long kind of fantasy, kind of urban fantasy, which I've heard good and bad things about. I've heard mostly positive things about it, though. But I think I might put it off. So if I don't get to it this year, it's not going to break my heart. And I can always start another big, long fantasy series next year. What the heck? And speaking of big, long fantasy series, here's a couple books I definitely want to try to get to this year. One is Robert Jordan's The Eye of the World. This is the first Wheel of Time book. And then I've got The Great Hunt, which is the second Wheel of Time book. I don't know anything about fantasy, apparently, if I haven't read The Wheel of Time. If I haven't read The Wheel of Time, I'm, a useless fantasy fan. What kind of fan am I anyway? I don't know anything. I haven't read Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. So I've got to at least try to get the first couple under my belt this year, and then go on from there, get whatever I can read next year in that series. But definitely want to try that. Wool, I'm on the fence about. I hear Wool's really good, but I'm thinking this might be one that I'm going to read all these other books first and then get to Wool. So I'm going to put Wool on the pile of books that I'll get to if I can get to them. Devil in a Blue Dress by Walter Mosley. I should have read this already, so this is a must-read. Definitely a must-read. This one, though, another mystery story. This is Robert B. Parker's The Godwolf Manuscript, a Spencer novel. This is the first of this guy. Look at this guy. Look at me and my dog. Looking all tough. Robert B. Parker. So yeah, this is definitely one I can probably put off. The Spencer series is always going to be there. I want to read it because I've never read the Spencer series. Let me know, guys, if you've read it and what you think of it. But I'm thinking I could probably put it off till I read all this other stuff, and then I'll get to it if I can get to it this year. I hope I do. This is the third Murderbot book by Martha Wells, Rogue Protocol. I'm going to put this on the must-read pile just because it's going to take like 5 seconds to read. It's like teensy. I could read a teensy book this year, I hope. Sharp's Tiger by Bernard Cornwell. First book in the Sharp series. I really want to read this series. I was kind of on the fence, but I'm going to put it on the must-read pile because I really want to read it. I'm thinking, now that I'm here looking at it, that I do really want to read this. So this is going to be one that I have to get to this year. So, must read. The Wallander Mysteries, though, I might put this off. I do want to read them, but not as much as I want to read all these other books. And I'm thinking, maybe I can put off Wallander for a while. So Faceless Killers, I'll get you when I can get you. Here's one I definitely want to read, though. Another giant fantasy book Because fantasy books can't just be not giant. They all have to be giant. The Forgetting Moon. Yes, The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee. I gotta get to this book. This guy has a booktube channel that's just fantastic. He does the greatest reviews, and his taste in literature pretty much the same as mine for the most part. So if this book is anything like even half as entertaining as this channel, I definitely want to get to this one. So yeah, The Forgetting Moon. And of course, that has a gigantic sequel, because this is all part of the 5 Warrior Angels series. This is The Blackest Heart! The Blackest Heart! So, yeah, I'll get to The Blackest Heart if I can. I don't know how much I'm going to want. Look at the size of this thing. My goodness. If this is really great, I will make room for it this year. If this is just okay, then I'll put it off till next year. I'm thinking I'm probably going to read it, though, because I've heard good things about this series. This one, Caliban's War, James S. Corey. I finally read the first novel, The Leviathan Wakes, the first novel of the Expanse series. I've never seen the show. I think I saw the first episode, but that was it. But I read the book, and the book was great. So yeah, I definitely want to get to this one this year. Yeah, Caliban's War. This is the second book in the Expanse. Definitely want to get to that. What do I have here? This is Billy Boyle. This is a World War II mystery by James R. Benn. I don't really know much about this, but it kind of got me at World War II mystery. Had to pick it up. But again, not something I have to get to this year, so I'm going to put it over there. Then we got Stephen King's Later. Every review I see is different. Some people hate this book. Some people love this book. Some people think it's just okay. Oh, that book was all right, but it wasn't the best. I'm going to put it on must read. I really am curious now. Is it great? Is it okay? Stephen King, you never know. Reviews are all over the place. We'll see. And now we've got Salt Blood by T.C. Parker. This is an independent horror novel, which I've seen some good things about, some good reviews. And look at that great cover. This is just like a total throwback to 80s horror kind of cover. Salt Blood. I've heard some good things about it, but I'm gonna put it on the I'll read it if I can get to it this year. It's not gonna be a must read. And the last book in the box, Godblind by Anna Stevens. I do really want to read this, but I feel like I've got a lot of fantasy to get through, so I'll get to it if I can get to it. The box is empty! Yay! So I got a pile of books that I'm going to get to. And after I get through those books, I'm going to read these other books that I've got piled up over here. And if I can get through them this year, fantastic. If not, I'll read them next year. I'm going to try not to pile too much more on top of this. You know, I'm trying to set my TBR in stone. Of course, that's impossible because I got to watch BookTube and you guys are always talking me into reading other things. But I'm going to try to set that in stone. We'll see. So yeah, well, thanks for hanging out with me while I set my 2021 TBR. Now I've got a pretty good idea of what I want to read and definitely and what I can put off. So this has been productive. Catch me next time. Tomorrow, actually, I filmed a bookshelf tour up at the lodge, the Vaughn Lodge that I just never got out. So we're gonna go back to the lodge tomorrow for that. And then after that, I'm going to be doing a return trip to the Vault of Ancient Science Fiction, pulling out some treasures for you. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time. Thank you.